When Harry Met Sally, a photography podcast, would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional owners of the lands and waters in which we are recording this podcast on today. As people who work with artists seeking meaning and knowledge through storytelling, we recognise the first peoples of this nation have been doing so for over 60,000 years. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging across Australia. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
And the When Harry Met Sally podcast would be nothing without our fabulous sponsors, would it, Harry?
Absolutely.
So first of all, we'd love to welcome a new sponsor on board for this year, which is the RACV. Thank you so much for being a wonderful sponsor, and we're really excited about having you on for Season 3.
And we'd like to welcome back and thank Nikon Australia, who are always a part of supporting the creative industries in Australia. Ted's Cameras, thank you so much for joining us again. And A&L Artistic Framers, who are just fabulous people to work with.
And last but not least, Col Arts. Thank you for the pod suites. This is our third year in here. We have added ferns and all sorts of wonderful things into the pod suite room this year. And it's without you, we wouldn't have a podcast really, would we?
We certainly wouldn't, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Here we are back for another fantastic episode.
Hi.
And what's so wonderful about this is that we can, if we can't get our guests to visit us, we're able to do them on Zoom.
Yeah, exactly, which we're doing today.
Which has really opened up so many more incredible guests for us.
Yeah.
And this next guest is no different. Now, this is a woman that I had heard about some years ago, but we'd never really met, nor had we ever talked. And when I heard of her name, I thought, I think this is going to be fantastic. So I rang a phone number that I thought was hers. And I had an entire conversation with someone who didn't know who I was or what I was talking about for about 20 minutes. And
that
then
sounds
I said,
pretty standard.
I know. And then I said, sorry, is this Jane Robinson? And they said, no. And I went, I'm so sorry. And then I had to hang up. And then I found Jane Robinson and told her. And then we laughed for about another 20 minutes. But she incredibly has said that she would love to be on our podcast.
So welcome.
Welcome, Jane Robinson from Artboxblack in Sydney. Thanks for coming on board, Jane.
Thank you very much for having me.
So tell us, you're the founder and managing director of Artboxblack. What is Artboxblack? It's hard to say that. I've got to be quite clear, don't I?
So we are a photographic production company. So we represent photographers, set designers, motion directors, and creative directors. So we act as an agent for them, quoting and facilitating their work, and we also do production for some of their shoots. So like some of the other big agencies, production is basically a fancy word for organising stuff. We do castings, locations, budget management, all of the crewing, basically taking a drawing or an idea from a creative and taking it through to the point where we're giving them photos that match what they need for an ad campaign.
Fantastic. Can you talk about how many have you got working with you?
I think... I don't know the exact number, but I think we're at about 10 people at the moment. So they're a mix of people across those disciplines. The most people in one of those disciplines is photographers. So we have about 8 photographers spread across Sydney and Melbourne. All of them do the direct motion as well, but stills is where they've come from as their first love.
Amazing. And so you're the founder of Artboxblack. Can you, what was it that made you decide that you wanted to found this kind of production agency?
Well, I've got a family, so I had 2 small children and I was traveling a lot to work, and I decided to stop full-time work and do freelance production so that I could be at home more with my children. And just be able to drop them off and work from home and have a better family life, work important. Balance. Yeah. And then while I was doing that, I was giving advice to some young women photographers just giving them advice on portfolios and how they can get into the industry or get more work. And that's something that I really enjoyed. And at the same time, I also had some clients from my previous working life. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. I had some clients who would call and they'd say, Jane, I've got this shoot and this brief. Who do you think I should use for that? So they're asking my opinion about things, and I love giving my opinion about things.
I knew we were souls.
You're in good company.
Yeah, I know. I said, you're going to really like this woman. Here we are. Opinions are us.
Opinions are us. So I found that clients would ring and ask me for opinions, and I'm always, because I was a freelancer, but also because they've known me for a long time, they know that I'll be honest and I'll tell them the truth. And if it's someone, like, I'll think about who they would like working with, not just who would be right for the creative. And so I'd look at their creative and I'd say, you should work with this person or this person. You're going to love them. And then they'd book them and come back and say, they were amazing. So then at one stage, I realized that people were asking for my opinion and they valued what I had to say. But I was also mentoring these amazingly talented young women photographers and giving them advice. And I thought I could combine those two things and create a small agency really championing young women creatives who were really good at what they did, and they were collaborative and they're good people to work with. And that hopefully by giving them a platform like that, I was also elevating their work a little bit, because they might be seen by some people who they may not have been seen by before. So I decided to combine those two things. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I just love something you just said then. You just said they really valued what I had to say. And I just think that, God, that sounds empowering. Like, that just sounds like you really value yourself and you know what you're kind of good at, you know, your strengths, and just saying that out loud. It just sounds amazing. And I can really see how you would empower others as well. And I can see how you would have started this agency for young women.
Well,
And that was your mandate, wasn't it? To not just young women, but to have 50% of female photographers as well, wasn't it?
Exactly. So I started very small, just me working from my kitchen table. And I decided I just wanted to do something that I was proud of and that I could tell my daughters about and be proud of when I was telling them as well.
So good.
We love that.
Yeah.
We love that.
And I wanted to be the same person at work that I am at home as well. So when I was telling my daughters at home, your integrity is everything. Like, when someone places their trust in you, that's an honor and a gift, and you have to do everything you can to maintain that. So I wanted to work in that way as well. We started in this very small way. It was all women photographers. I had 2 photographers and 2 set designers, and they were all women. And then it just grew little by little. I just thought it would be this tiny little thing, but I would feel happy with myself knowing that I was doing something that I was proud of, and that I was taking on photographers who also, like, a lot of the work that we do is photographing women's fashion campaigns, and you're photographing women in clothes that other women are going to buy. So it was really important to me as well to take on women and people who are essentially feminists, or that they depict women in a beautiful way, because I'm helping create that content and my daughters are looking at that content and devouring that content, and I want to make sure it's something that sits well with me.
What's a campaign that you can recall that really, identifies what you were doing?
I don't know that it's a particular campaign, but for us, it's more in all of the processes that go into the production of it. So in the casting stage, most of our photographers will knock back anyone who's like very, very thin. And we're always passionate about promoting diversity in casting, both in body shape, but in ethnic backgrounds. And so being able to have that conversation with clients, I feel like that's a gift as well. And being
Yeah.
able to say, like, I had one client who we were casting 5 roles for, and we put forward all of these diverse people. And I was thinking, well, it's 5 people. If it's representative of Australia, you have to have a range of ethnicities there because that's what Australia is. And they shortlisted 5 white people. And so going back to them and having the opportunity to say, hey, have you really thought about this? Like, that doesn't really reflect what it is to be Australian. And they pushed back a little bit against it, but then eventually they called and they said, Jane, you were really right. And I'm really happy that you pointed that out to me because I just hadn't thought about that at all.
And what's so wonderful about that, Jane, is that, our whole design, advertising, photography, our whole industry is about educating people, right? But often when it comes to production, what you're doing, it's like it's a foregone conclusion. All the decisions have been made. We'll just get them to do that. But for you to have that power and for people to want to listen to you, to come back and go, actually, you're right. That's, go you.
Yeah. Have you found that you'll get, well, a 2-part question really. Have you found that you get that pushback in the industry a lot now, and has that changed over the years?
It has definitely changed over the years, and it's been wonderful to be part of that and see that happen. So clients much more understand now the importance of casting diversely, both in body shape, as I said, and ethnicity. And I think that they're just understanding more that if they're going to reflect a true Australia is a melting pot of 1,000 different cultures.
Yeah.
And you need to represent that accurately.
I don't know whether you were involved in this, but where I shop here in Melbourne, there's a huge bonds outlet, and having a look of what bonds campaigns have been doing over the last 24 months is exactly what you're talking about. Did you work on any of those?
We didn't work on that one, but I really love it. I love it. I think that's I can't remember what it's called, but they photographed 100 people from the age of like 000, like a size in baby size, up to someone who's 100. And a lot of them are street cast or people that they've found in their journey. I think that's beautiful. And it's something that everyone can see themselves in,
It was. It was sort of a bit of a mind-changing campaign, especially for underwear.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so important. It's so wonderful to know that, there are people like you out there that are really trying to make that change. Has that been a hard thing to do? Has it been, hard to kind of like feel that you have to push the industry, or has it been something that you've just you seem like quite a go-getter, so has it been something that just you felt like is just something you kind of had to do intrinsically?
I feel like it's something that I'm really happy to have a go at and to try and change. So I think we've also found that when I first started Artboxblack, another thing that I really wanted to do was show how like a new way, a modern way of being a creative and working in this industry is being kind and collaborative and treating people well while you are. I feel like a creative team gets an idea and then between them they kind of burnish it like a diamond until it gets to the point where it's the best it can be, which is from the input of all these different specialists in their field. And I feel like pushing that collaborative way of working was important to me. Putting forward photographers who are good people and they treat other people well because, 20 years ago that wasn't really the case. And also it's been important for me, coming back to that word empower that you said, it's been important to me to show young women who are working in the industry how older women, mid to older women, how they can collaborate to help empower and inspire other young women. So I have a really good friendly relationship with nearly all of the other agents, the people who own agencies in town. Sometimes we have lunches together, or if they have a problem or if I have a problem, I'll call and say, what would you do in this situation? And they'll give me their feedback because it's you don't have a big team around you.
Well,
So
Yeah.
it's
being
in
able to
everyone's
get that.
interest. It's in everyone's interest to
Yeah.
help each other, isn't it? Because often because I started out doing all this stuff many years ago, and it has changed over the years. One of the things that I really enjoyed talking to you about before this interview was your understanding of your daughters, but also of women having photographers, having babies. And I know certainly over the last 30 years, I have worked with so many female photographers who have just sort of go, but maybe I want to start a family and I don't know enough. It's just like, hey, just do it and we will work around it. Like, don't stop having children because you're a photographer. And can you talk a little bit about what you mentioned to me in your production schedules, what you allow on and what you've created on sets for female young mums? Go. I love this.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been, we love all the people that we represent. So we're passionate supporters of them in whatever they need. So because we have young women photographers, a lot of them have had babies in the years that we've been working together. And so we've worked with them to manage how much time they want off, and then just make sure that they're feeling ready to come back to work when they, at the point that they say they are. We support them if they want to have longer time off, and then we chat to them about what their needs are, how we can help them so that they can be on set shooting. So for some people, it might mean that it's a slightly later start so that they can drop their child off with the nanny. Or for other people, it might be that they bring a parent or a nanny on set with the baby, and we make sure that there's a space for them to hang out in, or maybe the nanny's taking the baby to the park or whatever. And then we're scheduling in feeding times, or letting the clients know that, or just working out how it can be feasible for a woman who's a new mother to work.
Do you know, I'm just smiling because I'm just going back 20 years and thinking, imagine what they would have said if we tried to do that 20 years ago when we were all having kids, or when I was. It's
so important that,
huge.
there's been such it's such a hard balance to find to go back to work or to have your family or to try and do both. And people say you can have it all, and then you have burnt out women because they're running to a schedule that's been implemented eons ago that is unachievable, So to be able to actually, like, instead of saying we can do whatever the men can do, actually, why don't we do it on our schedule, on our timetable,
You know who talks about that a lot is Ariana Huffington. Have you ever read her book or heard her talk?
No.
She talks about the fact that she had a complete and utter breakdown because she was trying to be like a man and run her business and trying to keep up with all the men. And in fact, she collapsed one day and her daughter found her and they put into hospital and they couldn't work out what was wrong with her for a long time. And then it was actually just utter stress. So it was coming back around to like, I'm not a man, I am a woman and I have different needs. And so, that's wonderful. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Jane, was when I was an agent many years ago for photographers, I kept the number of photographers that I had on board. Is that something that you do now? And how do photographers approach you, or how do you find them? So there's sort of two questions there.
So we don't have like a number that we cap it at. We have a cap of what is workable and what's sustainable for our workload. Because we have a very involved relationship with our photographers, and we want to make sure that we have time to do all of the bigger picture things rather than just book them and get them out,
Wonderful.
And we kind of cap it based on the right person. Like, we'll meet someone who's super creative and they're driven and they're passionate and they're lovely, and that's really inspiring. So we'll say, you need to be with us. It's like we want to collect them into our arm. And then in terms of how they find us, sometimes it can be both ways. So sometimes a photographer will be they'll be following us and seeing the work that we put out, and they will ask us for a meeting. Sometimes we'll be following what they do and we'll ask them if they want to have a meeting. So it comes both ways. And then sometimes photographers will be looking for an agent, and they ask all of their friends, like, who's your agent and do you like them? And sometimes they come to us because we have a reputation as nice people.
Yeah.
Well, they're the ones that you want, isn't it? Absolutely.
And you've
Yeah,
got some
definitely.
incredible photographers on your books. Just amazing. You must just, I can see why you love what you do.
Yeah, they're amazing, and it is something that we look for, especially now because of AI and all of the generic content that's put out there. We really look for someone who has a specific point of view, and a real creativity, and they need to have something outside of their commercial photography that they're passionate about as
Interesting.
well.
Yeah, so that's
important for
important.
us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what does that bring, having that personal kind of creativity or that personal project building? What does that bring, do you think, that is important for you?
Well, I think that art directors and creative directors respond really well to that. So from a commercial point of view, it strikes a chord with the advertising agencies they might be seeing. And in that same way, it inspires us. So when it gives us something great to talk about. So I'm not a very good liar. I'm quite honest. And so being able to have someone who's doing something that I'm really excited about just makes it so much easier to, as a selling point, to be able to talk to someone and say,
Oh, God,
this
yeah.
person is amazing. This is what they're doing. And you make them excited because I'm genuinely excited about what they're doing.
Yeah, you have to believe in what it is you're trying to spruik, right?
You really have to, or
Yeah.
otherwise it just falls flat.
Yeah,
And
it just falls flat, and people can see through it, and that's the beauty of working with someone like you as well. It is that raw passion for a thing or something or someone.
yes.
And Jane, tell me, are you specifically, the list of photographers that we have here, of which we know many of them. Are you working at all overseas on international projects? Are you getting photographers coming across, or maybe international photographers where you're producing for others when they come into the country, or is it purely Australian?
At the moment, it's mostly Australian. So we have had that in the past. During COVID, we had quite a few overseas brands because they were shut down. We were doing quite a few big shoots for international brands. And sometimes it was with our photographer or sometimes with another photographer. At the moment, the majority of what we do is here with our photographers, but right now, we're working on 2 productions for international clients with our photographers who are coming to Australia to shoot. So I've got one happening in Melbourne with a Chinese fashion brand, and we've got another one. They're from the advertising agency are from London, but the client is from Spain, I think. And I don't know how they found us, to be honest. I should ask them
Who
that.
cares? Who cares? They did. And so, Jane, are you going to be coming down to Melbourne?
I won't for this one. No, I've got
Okay.
an on-set producer that we work with a lot who'll be on that. Yeah.
Yep.
But we do travel to Melbourne quite a lot.
Great. Well, look us up next time you're down here. We'd love to catch up with you.
I will. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll do a shoot. We can star in it. I don't know. And with what you're doing with your family, so you've managed to have like a producer on set down here in Melbourne so that you can still be that stay-at-home mum, work from home with that gorgeous couch in the background with the cushions that match your hair. I've noticed that. And still manage things and a really nice work-life balance. Is that happening for you now?
It's happening for me now, but for the first few years of starting a business, as with every new business, you have to work very hard. So I worked at nights and I worked on weekends, but I was at home and I could pick up the kids and, I'd pick up a friend for them as well and say, come and have a play
Yes.
date. And then I'd be working and they'd have a great time. So now my kids are a bit older. They're almost 17 and 19. They're much more
great.
self-sufficient. So it's much easier for me to travel and be on set. But for this one this week, because we've got so much production on, I just think that it's a better use of my time to be at the office working on the other projects and have an on-set producer on that one for this time.
Good for you. And isn't it wonderful that you've set it up that you can just create that? You've been smart. We were talking earlier on about just being smart in business as well, and understanding who your audience is, and actually thinking things through.
Definitely. Yeah. And then sharing that with other people, I think, and talking about it with other women and other business owners, and sharing your own insights.
I find it really interesting that you've founded the agency yourself. And do you find, do you have a kind of partner in crime there that you sort of, it sounds like it's all very holistic and that you all work very creatively together, but do you feel like, is there someone there that you kind of have that kind of partnership with now, or are you kind of really managing all of it?
Oh, no, I have a business partner. So the wonderful Ashley Molesky, who I refer to as, we call each other our work wives.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah. But it's great having that other person there. We bounce ideas off each other. She is not afraid to tell me if my idea is wrong or she disagrees.
Oh, great.
Hello, I get that all the time.
It's invaluable.
No, I get, can you not call me on Mondays? I get that. But it is important though, isn't it, that you still love
really
each other,
is.
but you can just go back off.
Yeah, definitely.
And so when did Ashley kind of come into the picture in the timeline?
I think it was after about a year.
Yeah, okay.
After the first year. Yeah.
When you thought, shit, this is a lot doing it on my own.
Yeah, you can't ever take a holiday,
But do you know what's exciting at that time of a business, when you can just see it growing? And I can remember with my business some time ago, just turning to my husband and saying, I think this is going to explode. I think this is going to be, I think this is a thing.
Yeah.
And you also with everything that you're doing. And there's that moment where you just go, I've got to roll with it, or you can just feel it bubbling, can't you?
You can. And then also when you start as something quite small, I never expected for our business to get as big or as successful. So when it's growing exponentially and you don't have many systems put in place, so you've got to create the systems and create the protocols. And that takes a lot of time as well as just doing the work.
Yeah.
And then the work is coming in and you're trying to cope with it, but those first few years are tough.
But the wonderful thing about it being your own is that you do have to create it, but then you don't have to ask anybody else if you can create it. You just go, I need to create it, and then you get it going, right? So again, it's about being a very smart business person whilst you are trying to be everything to everyone. You really just have to have that focus on, and how is it going to, right, we do need this, and how do I do it?
Exactly. And I think it's really rewarding. I find that very creative, that process, looking at how we're going to steer the business and what's going to happen with the direction of it. So every year we have a meeting, Ashley and I, and we look back at where we've come, what our goals were for the last year. We bring it back to our core values, and basically every decision that we do comes back to, does this fit within our bigger purpose? And I feel like we're at this beautiful stage right now where for the last few years we've kind of pushed to be at a certain level and with a certain direction, and we're there now. And that's very rewarding,
Hugely
How
rewarding.
amazing. Yeah.
One question I wanted to ask you, we've talked a lot about your involvement and, pro women and getting young girls involved and all of that sort of stuff. But you certainly do have some male photographers on your books. How do they feel about your mandate about that? Do you have to, is that ever a problem, with male photographers coming on board?
No, because the ones that we bring on is because we really want them, and we've considered that ratio already, So with the men that we've taken on, they still fit those boxes. Like, they're passionate supporters of women. They depict women in a beautiful way. They treat female models well when they're on set. So
Yeah.
all of those kind of attributes they still have. And then if we're looking to take on someone new, we kind of look at our balance and we go, no, it's got to be a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so great. It's so important.
And so what are you working on at the moment, Jane?
We've got this 2-day shoot in Melbourne, so a big fashion shoot, and we've got this SPF campaign for a Spanish brand, so it's a startup, and it's just really exciting that they've reached out to us, and they're just lovely people to work with as well. So
It's so important, isn't it? Just working with good people.
oh, I cannot speak highly enough of it. Like I feel we are very lucky that the vast majority of people we work with they're wonderful humans
Yeah.
and they're creative, and it's a pleasure creating something with them, you know?
And also equally as wonderful, the vast majority. So there's a few, dickheads that slip in all the time, don't they? And
There
at
are
the
a
end
few.
at the end of that, you go, I actually don't have to work with you again.
Yeah.
Don't you? And have you met
Exactly.
people, like I've met so many people in my time, and I guess the majority are fabulous and wonderful, but there's a few that tell me how fabulous they are and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and you're there going, do you know what? You are fabulous all on your own.
Yeah.
You actually don't need any help because
I
you
think
know
so.
everything, and that's a really nice way to just sort of go, isn't it?
I think so. And then you can also reward people. Like the people who, when we put a crew on a shoot, they reflect the kind of people that we want on set because they're a reflection of us. So
Yeah.
down to the photo assistants, the stylists, like there's a few people who I've seen on set and they don't treat their assistants well and they shout at them in front of the client. And I look at them and I go, I'm not rewarding you by booking you ever again.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a no.
And with your crew, Jane, are they all freelancers that you sort of preferred suppliers, if you like, and then from them, if they're busy on a job, then you go down and sort of go, right, well, if Sally's busy, I'm going to take Harriet on. And do you have a list of lots of different people in different states and things?
Yeah, we've got a huge list of people. So a huge list, but then there's also like each photographer has their favourite people that they like working with. And they're all freelancers, yes.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
shut
We
up.
are sort of almost getting towards the end of the session, believe it or not. But I just really wanted to touch back on, we've talked a bit about working with emerging artists and emerging creatives. And I teach at a college, photography studies college here in Melbourne. And I'm working with, students that are trying to get into the industry. And I think for a lot of the commercial students, it's really... it's a kind of big thing to think of wanting to get an agent and engaging with an agent. And that's like the dream, I guess. And I wondered if you had any specific sort of key tips or ideas for young people wanting to find an agent and be represented in that way. Like what would you be looking for? What do you think that they need in their kind of tool belt?
We personally look for someone who has a distinct voice in their pictures, something that is unique in some way, something that shows that they have like technical prowess in some way. So it may not be lighting, but perhaps it's in the way that they compose a picture. It's all about the pictures, to be honest. To start with, that's what will make us take a meeting. I also am very mindful of how they conduct themselves over email. So some people will reach out to us to assist our photographers. And if I can tell that they're humble and self-deprecating, I kind of go, that's the right person. But there'll be other people who come in and they say, I've been assisting for a year and I know everything there is to know about photography, so I'm ready to be a first assistant. And you kind of go, if that's what you think, then you don't actually know what you don't know, because the people we work with have been doing it for 15 years and they're still learning.
And that's when you're allowed to use mine. You're fabulous all on your own.
I love that. I'm going to
Did
take
you like
that
that?
if that's okay.
Yeah, you can take that one. Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's definitely the it's all about the pictures for us. That's what will make me take a meeting, and it's something that's original and that they have, you can see their own voice flowing through it.
I just keep seeing Joe Dark in my head as you're saying that.
Perfect example.
So original and such a beautiful photographer and kooky and fabulous and
But then that style applies to, like, we did a big Greyvox shoot with her recently. It was a huge advertising shoot. And she's working on a shoot at the moment for a supermarket, which is a more commercial client, but they've seen how that sense of humour,
that fun side of her,
how that can translate to a brief that they're working on.
Yeah, amazing.
It's wonderful that you have created such, for want of a better word, such a wholesome organisation for people to be a part of, because I think, you know, as someone that was an agent back in the 90s, a really long time ago, and then sort of morphed and changed into many different things, but still educating, I felt like agents these days were a lot more like bookers. And I think many of them have become like that, where they really want names on their books in order to make money from them. But you've sort of, as I said, you've thrown it backwards a bit, like I have been doing for many years, where you're there going, yes, we want to make money from people with names, but we also want to be here supporting and encouraging new people. And I think that's wonderful for our audience to hear that Artboxblack are out there doing that. Could you just give us your website so that everyone can have that, and we'll put it up on the screen as well?
Sure, it's www.artboxblack.com.
And is that the best way for people to contact you, Jane, if they want to have a conversation?
Yeah, just an email through the website.
In a humble and self-deprecating way. Unlike the way I rang you and just blurted. But look, it worked anyway, didn't it?
But that was self-deprecating as well, because you explained what had gone on, and it's honest. And
did you just feel sorry for me and think, oh, far out, I better just, she's never going to let go, I just better say yes? She's laughing. I think that's actually what happened. Look, Jane, it's been a real treat to talk to you and to stumble across you last week. As I said, having heard about you but not really knowing much about you, it's been a really, you know, wonderful time to talk and for people to hear what you're doing and all the great work.
You have such a great ethos that it's just really, inspiring. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really lovely to chat to you guys.
It's a pleasure. Well, Harry, thank you, Jane. And that's it for another...
See you next time.
Yeah, you will. That's it. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
We just want to thank all our fabulous crew that are working with us on Season 3 of When Harry Met Sally. Shaquille Raymond, back for Season 3. Couldn't do this without you.
God love him. I'm glad he keeps coming back. Ezra Williams, who's just started with us this year, who is working with us on filming, videoing, social media and all other things fabulous. And a huge thank you to Ash Wilson, who will be working alongside Ezra, editing all of the videos for YouTube. Thanks, Ash.
And Martin Stevens, Sally's wonderful husband, and also music extraordinaire, who's done our intros and outros for 3 seasons now. Thank you so much, Martin.
Yay, Martin. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, Ash Peters, we'd like to say thank you for supplying the artwork to put in the pod suite. It's made a huge difference. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for listening. See you next week.
Bye.